Welcome to the Environmental Leadership Chronicles, a podcast brought to you by the California Association of Environmental Professionals. In this episode, we feature Erika Rodriguez, founder of Nadi Marketing and chair of San Diego Climate Week. From a life-changing cyclone experience in Fiji to launching her partnership marketing agency, Erika shares how personal moments can spark powerful climate action. We explore the creation of San Diego's first Climate Week, the world of marketing for sustainable businesses, and how to build purpose-driven businesses that create real impact. Erika offers practical insights for professionals wanting to combine their skills with the environmental sector. This is a must listen for anyone interested in purpose-driven business and community-powered change. Thanks for listening, and we hope you enjoy. Hi, I'm Jessa, and today we have Erika Rodriguez, who is founder and CEO of Nadi Marketing and chair of San Diego Climate Week. Welcome to the podcast, Erika.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Me too. So first things first, how are you connected to AEP?
So I just learned about it through the podcast, obviously you sending it to me, and just honestly, my connection with you, Jessa, with Business for Good and learning about what you do.
Thank you. Yay. I love to hear that. Spreading the good word. And we've actually had a few other,
Yeah.
so you mentioned Business for Good, and we've had a few other members of Business for Good. We're down in San Diego and had a few other people, Dr. Cindy Lynn and Mikey Nab
Cool.
have also been on here before. So welcome to the club.
Awesome.
So let's start off. I want to hear your story. And I laugh because I was talking about this with you before we recorded that I've known you for, I don't know, probably 3 or 4 years. And I
Right.
actually haven't got to hear your story. So I'm excited to hear this as we go. But I want to hear about how your life experience have shaped your interest in the environmental industry and marketing and your career path.
Yeah. So I was born on May 2nd. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not going to go all the way there. But I guess how I started with like my career path, it's definitely my work ethic. Like I learned at such a young age because my parents were entrepreneurs. I grew up in the restaurant business. So since I can remember until I was 18, my parents had restaurants. So learning, you know, business, learning how to be an entrepreneur and supporting your family, and working with my family definitely just gave me that pathway. And then once I went into college, and being a first in my family, it just like really rooted me into trying to find a career in business. I knew I wanted to be in business. I actually thought I was going to start a nonprofit. And when I went to University of San Diego, it was really apparent like starting a nonprofit is a lot of work. Yes, that you need your board of directors, you need so much funding, you need so much to run a nonprofit and to operate it. And for me, I think growing up in Rotary, I've been in Rotary since high school, so like around 19 years now. I always wanted to give back. And when I studied abroad in Australia, which is a huge another moment for me in my just learning and understanding what I wanted to do, I took my first marketing class there, and I just had this amazing professor that really explained to me the marketing on the business side. And she really explained to me that marketing is not just the tail end of a business. It is marketing is rooted in like the mission, the values, and the everyday actions of a business. And that was just like light bulb. Like it just made me really go into the pathway of marketing. And then obviously another life moment that happened was like with sustainability was, long story short, which I don't know if you want me to talk about it so much in depth,
Please
but it
go
is
for it.
that I went through a category 4 cyclone in Fiji. So after I studied abroad in Australia, I volunteered at an orphanage in Fiji, and this was in 2012. And I went to Nadi, Fiji, and that was really the first moment that like I experienced a natural disaster. Obviously, born and raised in California here, we're used to earthquakes where you can just, get under the table. You have a couple of seconds, maybe some aftershocks. With wildfires, we have, evacuations. You know, we have time. With this natural disaster of a cyclone, it was the first time I ever experienced it. And the strongest part is called the eye, and that went through right through Nandi when I was there, and I just couldn't get out in time. So it was just really, it was 24 hours of terror. It was I think it was over 165 miles per hour winds, and it was my near death experience. Um, and just like, I don't know, talking about it also
No, I'm
always
getting chills. This is
get
I didn't
chills
know
around
any
it.
of this. And I'm like Nadi, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's all
It kind of opens it up,
coalescing.
right? Yeah, because um, so yeah, it just it taught me so much. I obviously grew up in the restaurant business, but we never really talked about climate change. We never talked about the environment. And so and even like during university and all, my education, like environment wasn't a huge topic. And so it really just changed my whole trajectory, honestly, of like what I wanted to do with my career, how I wanted my work to be meaningful. And just being an environmental advocate after that and seeing like how it impacted that community, how on it, like the media covered it. We've had so many natural disasters within like the past years that the media covers a split moment of it, but then that community has to deal with the aftermath of it. And so it taught me so much around climate change and where everything's at. And that was at the time in 2012, that was the most powerful cyclone ever recorded to go across Fiji. I was there, and from this time they've had more powerful and more frequent cyclones. So it's just like it's taught me so much, but that's like the single moment where I can name like that just changed my career path of just like I need to be an advocate for the environment because we need to. Climate change is here. It's been here. And so yeah, that's what really kind of changed me within starting Nandi marketing. As you can see, that's the name of it. Just because that's where I became and understood like climate change.
Wow, that's incredible. That's yeah, like hearing you talk about that and I can like I can like physically feel like a fear because I don't know if you know this, but you do know this. I'm from the Midwest and
Mhm.
tornadoes have been my fear forever. And so climate change and all this and these storms, they can be so terrifying. And I mean, nothing like what you've experienced, but the potential of what it could be is so scary. And I love that, one, you came out like unscathed and, weren't hurt and are safe and back home in San Diego, but also realizing the impact that it had and how you want to be part of a solution
Right.
to whatever we can do to mitigate these problems and these more powerful storms in the future. And obviously it takes all of us, but not just sitting back and being like, well, this happened and going about with your day. And obviously you named your business after it, and just weaving this into what you do. And so what so after you came back and like how did this go from this tear and this catastrophic storm to when you decided to start Naughty Marketing?
Yeah, so lots of in betweens since the cyclone and now. I mean, I graduated university, went to corporate, so I worked at Zipcar, and then I went to Lyft, which are both just different ways of how we think of transportation. I just always wanted, again, like my work to be meaningful. If I'm going to be, how many hours do we spend like a day working? And being within like our communities. And so I just wanted to focus on like what is something that I can create impact. And thankfully from university, like I had an internship at Zipcar. It was pretty easy pathway. Then from there, a small company called Lyft was looking for their marketing team in San Diego. Thankfully, that's where I went. And then worked there for 3.5 years and really understood too um, at the time Lyft was like really into grant community work, and so I got to like manage the grant community program here in San Diego and work with nonprofits. And so really understood like how a brand can create impact with social impact and corporate social responsibility in that way, and using their superpower, which was like rides, to also further their mission, which was great. And then from there, I got laid off. So that was right before COVID. It was February 2020 when I got laid off just because they regionalized their marketing. Obviously, feel like San Diego is always like the stepchildren of LA and San Francisco. So regionalized, and then I just honestly started interviewing. It was right before COVID, so companies were still wanting myself to like go live in like the city of where they had their teams, and so for me San Diego was a priority, and I didn't want to move. And I didn't find a company that I was really passionate about at the time. So when I really thought about it, and
Oh no,
thankfully
I
I
think
was
I froze.
freelancing. Oh, okay.
Eeh.
Okay. I can still I heard you.
Great. Okay,
Okay.
we're back, baby. We're back.
Okay.
So San Diego, you're saying you didn't want to move from San Diego.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to move from San Diego. And so from there I just thought like, is there a way that I can just create my own business and focus on clients that I wanted to work with? And being laid off from February 2020, and then I incorporated in May 2020 with Nadi Marketing. Thankfully, I had someone I was freelancing on the side, and he became my first client, and then been here 5+ years later. Yeah.
Amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank
Probably
you
just
very
had
much.
your 5-year anniversary then a
We
few
did.
months
Yep.
ago. That's awesome. I think listening to your story and your passion is really important for people to understand that. I mean, for AEP, it's environmental professionals. And so, what is an environmental professional? And have a lot of planners and biologists, psychologists, cultural resource managers. And I think, hearing your story, it's important to take away that we all have skills, and giving that skill, you can choose which industry you give it to or what your purpose is. Like you're talking about your job, like you're there a significant portion of your life. And so you don't necessarily have to be a scientist or technical background to be in the industry. And I mean, I'm similar, like I'm business. I actually have a degree in marketing, but I got a different education, I think, back when I went and listening to some of your purpose and mission and values discussions. But I think it's like you don't necessarily have to go that route to be in the to give back to the environment and do good work for environmental issues. And I mean, this kind of brings us though to the next question, or continuing the conversation, is you are the chair of the first ever San Diego Climate Week, which is a community powered program. It's actually happening this October, October 2025, across San Diego County. And so, can you tell us what was the spark that led to creating San Diego Climate Week?
Yeah. The spark was me just really feeling like my individual actions were not doing anything. In the I would say in the face of federal policy changes that were going around, like with our new administration, we I just we all saw environmental and DEI policies being, stripped away among all these other negative changes. And I just kept asking myself, like, what can we do to make an impact when so much is being taken away on this national level? And the realization for me was like, I could create a space that's like local. I could do something locally right here in San Diego. And so from there, that was, I don't know why February is always something that's like of action, because that happened in February this year. And I created a form, so very grassroots, created a Google form, sent it to like my newsletter with all my connections and my partners. I sent it on social media, on LinkedIn, and just asked people like, would you be interested in just getting involved in some way, either if you were on the planning committee and trying to help me organize it, if you wanted to help like promote it, wanted to possibly create, because I knew what climate weeks were. There are other climate weeks, New York, Los Angeles, San Francisco. And so I knew the way that they were structured. And so I just asked the different ways that you can get involved. Um, and then from there, I had think like 30 or 40 people that answered. And I was really
Wow.
pleased. Yeah, I was really pleased by that. Just because, when you put surveys or polls out there, you might not get as much engagement, but like I had sponsors already. I had people on the planning committee already just from a single form that was so grassroots. And then from February until now, we have 20 people on our planning committee. We are rolling. It's happening October 1st through the 8th for our first ever San Diego Climate Week. And we have also been in partnership and talking to LA Climate Week and SF Climate Week to just get their insights and to collaborate as well.
That's awesome. I think, going from an idea, and then putting it on paper and implementing it. And I think realizing that, one person can make a difference. And there's a lot of other people. And I think, putting that out there and giving people a forum to participate, a form and a forum to participate, it allows for other people who want to get involved, but, might not have that idea or might not know where to start or what to do. It gives this movement a lot of legs, where it's like, oh, you put it out there and like 30 to 40 responses is incredible for people who actually are raising their hands to volunteer and get involved. And I think that just shows that there's the demand and interest to participate in, positive change for the environment. And so, you said there's 20 people on the planning committee.
Right.
And I what's
And
your oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, I can talk more about that because it's obviously, it's
Please.
not just me planning it. There's so many people on our planning committee that span from, small businesses, some that are in nonprofits, that are in government agencies. There are volunteers from the universities. I just got an intern that's going to dedicate her time specifically on Climate Week from SDSU. We're trying to also bring in Cal State San Marcos because they have a student-run climate podcast as well. And so we are just trying to get everyone involved, but also just allowing them to share with us, how they would like to get involved. So for like the podcast people as well, it's like, can you do live podcasts at our anchor events, our keystone events that are student-run? And they love that idea. And so just being open, and I guess that is like the community power component of it, is that we are, it's a very decentralized model. We are not hosting all the events ourselves. My planning committee is organizing 4 keystone events that are activating in each region of San Diego. So we are starting with Central San Diego, and we're starting San Diego Climate Week with a bike ride, a community bike ride, as well as NTS ride along to ride with transit to Balboa Park, because it is also October 1st is California Clean Air Day. And so we're hoping to have 100 to 200 people joining us for this bike ride. And so it's just a very different model as far as we're hosting 4 events, but then we are relying and encouraging our whole community to activate 100 plus events from that week.
That's amazing. I don't know where you're at in the planning, but do you know how many events you have? I know the goal
No,
is
yeah.
100,
So
but
yeah, so we just launched yesterday, actually, the event registration, and so we are going to see events that are in the works and everything else. But I'm just also very excited about this because it gives a platform for anyone to create their own San Diego Climate Week event. There is no fee associated with it. We do set some event criteria and guidelines that we want you to like encourage people to ride transit. If you do have food, we ask that 50% be either vegetarian or vegan. We also have one that's around accessibility, because for us, it is important that people also have a seat at the table. So we encourage free events. But of course, we understand too that if any event organizers have a venue cost, have food costs, have other things, there's going to be expenses. And so if it is a paid event, we ask that 10% be reserved for a community ticket where people can come, first serve. and get those tickets. But all events have to be open to everyone.
Very accessible model.
Right.
And I mean, you kind of touched on this a little bit, but how can listeners, if anyone listening is in the San Diego area, how can they get involved?
Yeah, certainly. So if you are in San Diego or maybe SoCal area region, I would encourage you to come to San Diego Climate Week in person and come to our events. Again, October 1st through the 8th. And also, if you feel inclined, you want to create your own event, there's still time. So you can create your own event during Climate Week. If you're not in San Diego or maybe SoCal area, then we also have virtual events throughout the week that you can participate in.
Oh, that's great. And so so speaking of, so what's the website? sdclimateweek.org?
.com.
.com,
Yeah.
sdclimateweek.com. Okay, great. And you kind of touched on this. I don't know if it's a bike ride, but is there an event that you're most excited about?
Um, I'm excited just to see the different variety of events that are going to happen. I mean, we will have like the classic panels, the workshops, the webinars, but I'm excited for people just to, do art installations, movie nights, get together just for a coffee chat, just to talk about climate action or honestly like climate anxiety. Like I know I have climate anxiety, so like let's just have some coffee and discuss maybe like coping mechanisms or also if you are, with nonprofit professionals, it's like, just coming together and doing a mixer or getting to know, fellow nonprofit professionals. There's going to be so much variety within events because it's just an open platform. So I'm really excited to see people share their expertise within climate, but then also show their experience. Our theme is resilience this year. So it is sharing your experience with climate and also with San Diego Climate Week. We're just trying to create space for the collaboration, for people to educate, to bring science forward, and for action. We really want to make it very impactful. It's not, of course, just a week. We're hoping that it expands all year long, or just the impact of that. And hopefully, you'd look forward to next year because we're definitely going to be doing it every year.
Yes. I actually have an event I'm going to plan. I haven't told you this yet,
Oh,
but I've been talking
yes.
to a few other people. So keep your
Wonderful.
eyes out.
Perfect.
So I'm glad to hear more about it because I
Yeah.
had a few ideas and I'm like, I don't know if this would work, but I think it will hearing you now.
Oh, yeah.
Um, and so coming back to your business, Nadi Marketing. So what niche does your business fill for marketing as it relates to the environmental field? And like, what's your unique approach?
Yeah, certainly. So within marketing, my specialty is around partnership marketing. So that is specifically of creating it's usually creating campaigns, creating events, and creating programs that are around partners. How are you partnering with other businesses, other nonprofits, other individuals, ambassadors, affiliates, interns, anything like that of individual relationships into your business? And so that's my specialty within marketing. And then who I serve, like you said, it is sustainable, purpose led businesses and nonprofits. Just because since every year I've created Nadi, I've been niching my services and niching who I work with, and that is within the purpose led and sustainable businesses and nonprofits.
Have you ever had a client come to you to Nadi and that you've had to turn away because you didn't feel like they were values aligned?
Yeah, I've fired clients. So every year while I was niching down, I fired clients, and then also I have said no on consultation calls of just being
Wow.
very transparent. I think I've been also doing it's always a work in progress for my website and like who I serve. And so within also consultation calls, I've said, like I don't think we are a great fit. I don't want to waste your time. And so I think we should end our call. Of course, I can keep you in my back pocket, or if there's anything that I can refer, someone to you, then I'll do that. But I'm very transparent of who I work with, who I don't work with. That also should probably be on my website as well.
Yeah. I mean, it takes a lot of
Okay.
courage and conviction as a business owner, a small business owner, and to be able to have such a strong purpose and clearly defined values, and to be able to say no when those are misaligned. I think that's a great place to be as a business owner, to have the confidence to say this isn't a fit.
Yeah, I think it's also just helped me in general as far as, taking less consultation calls, being very transparent of who I would work with. And then also it's been niching me as well. Like so many people can find me now just with everything that's on my website, keywords and everything. Um, but I also just I find a passion in working with those people. And it's great now. Most of my clients are in San Diego, so I get to interact with them. Obviously, with COVID, when I started, it was like I was kind of working everywhere across the U.S. and abroad. Now I get to see all my clients, and they work together a lot of the times. A lot of them are coming to San Diego Climate Week and doing events there, or I'm planning their events. So a
There
lot,
you
but it's
go.
great. It's wonderful. I love all my clients. They are all trailblazers and they're doing amazing work. So I just get to amplify their work
That's
with
awesome.
creating different partnerships for them.
I love that. And
Yeah.
speaking of, is there a client project or partnership in the last 5 years that surprised you or taught you something unexpected about building a purpose driven business?
Yeah. I think the one that came to mind is pretty much my first, I would say, sustainable client, which was the Mighty Bin. It was San Diego's first zero waste grocery store. It got bought. It, she sold it and it got bought. But I think when she first opened, I was brought on to build her partnerships from scratch, in showcasing her vendors. You can imagine within even a small grocery shop, like how many partners she had with all the different products that she had. A lot of them were small businesses that were coming from farmers markets. So just working with them, getting introduced to their products, making sure like if they were doing demos or anything with us, in marketing that, then going through the co-marketing campaigns with her, focusing on earned media, trying to secure that for her, especially when she opened, but keeping that like steady drumbeat along. And then also doing the programming. I love doing the programming because with the number of events that we did, we went from just instead of just being a grocery store, it was honestly a environmental like resource hub that we created. It was where people got their groceries, were being educated on how to be low waste. And then also if they wanted like a worm composting bin, or if they wanted um, just helping us clean up around North Park, it was so much of community focused business, that people could educate themselves in being low waste. And I love that fact. And I got to meet so many other referrals and clients and partners because of that. And just representing, everything that she was doing as far as education.
Yeah, definitely some common
Yeah.
themes with you.
Yeah.
Education,
Right.
community, collaboration, events. I love it. And are there, I guess, what misconceptions are there about marketing for sustainable business nonprofits as it relates to the environment?
Yeah. So I think the number one thing for marketing is specifically, is like it's of course not the tail end of a business. It's not just an expense. It's really like what is rooted within your mission, your values, and marketing can be like it is certainly it's everything that you're doing is marketing. So I've gotten a number of clients that have, been not able to invest in marketing, or, pause their contracts or something like that. But it's rooted into so many things of your business that it's not just it can be your vendors and who you work with. It can be the things that you're doing for your employees, how you're representing yourself. I think marketing is always maybe from like a very traditional business side. It has been the tail end. That's just like we need to sell our products or our services, so we need like paid ads, XYZ, and it's not. It's so many things.
Yeah, it's like who you are, like your identity and
Definitely.
personality, like the bit of the business or entity. So,
And there's also this misconception too of like I always hear it. What is that phrase? if you build it, they will come. And in the marketing like world, that's not that's not a thing. Like you need to market it in such a good way with storytelling, with your, the people of your employees or ambassadors or your customers. You need to share it with the world, and that involves marketing. There's so much noise too with marketing. So even if like a nonprofit, if you just say that you have a strong mission and you have like you're serving XY people and you have so much impact, you need to do a good job of telling the story and connecting it with people, so you can fundraise more or share the impact that you're doing. It's not just that you are doing the work, you're also sharing, the stories, you're sharing the impact, through social media, through video. Now, how do they find you on AI, or how does AI play a role with it? There's so many things like that, that you need to take in consideration when you're marketing.
Yeah. And so how does marketing in the environmental, like sustainable nonprofit spaces differ from other fields?
For me, they don't. I think just because all my actions are very intentional, I'm trying to be as sustainable as possible, even with my small business. So with a large business, I don't think it's quite different in a large business. And I guess I didn't really realize that until I went to, the 1% for the Planet Global Summit, when I talked to, the sustainable, what was it, chair or sustainable rep at, OXO. And that's, she was telling me like one small action can take, months to implement. It can take years to get approval. But I think as far as marketing, it's rooted. I think everyday actions tell the story.
Yeah. And what's the trajectory for Nadi marketing in the future, or any big projects or efforts, or what does this look like for you as you grow and start an annual climate week?
Right. I think that's my biggest project. That's going to be my annual project that I have with Nandi Marketing as the organizing partner. Um, but I think for Nandi, I'm just rooted in connections. I don't know if I would grow my team. I really love the work that I'm doing. So if I can expand on that somehow, or just be like a go-to resource for anything partnerships, and how to grow your partnerships and how to optimize or anything like that, I can see myself growing in that way. But the connections I have locally and like with my clients, yeah, I don't know if I can copy myself in many
Yeah.
ways.
Well, we hope there's a bunch of Ericas though, right?
Right?
Like
Yeah.
just maybe not under your umbrella.
Right. Yeah.
And so something we talked about this a little bit, but so AEP, we're framing the work that professionals do around elements. And
Sure.
so the work, kind of like the concrete impact of the actions, like how does this relate to everyday life? And so the elements being air, earth, water, time, space, connection. So what does your work interface with the most as we think about it in the elements?
Yeah. So I think connection. Hopefully that's obvious
Yeah.
after that you've heard. But I know obviously other environmental professionals, they are focused on the air, they're focused on the water and water conservation, or protecting, you know different species and stuff with earth. But I think connection brings it all together. I wish I had like a really nice, you know diagram that shows everything. It's just like everyone's working in their kind of silos, but connection really brings them together. And it's like, how do they interact? Or I just feel like it's the core of anything with impact and communication. It's connection. And so I think that's where I thrive, and that's where I try to, go with my clients as far as working on just intentional marketing for them with campaigns. Um, and so I would say the most interface is definitely connection for me.
Yes. Yes. That makes sense.
Yeah.
And then, as we start to wrap up, so what advice do you have for someone who wants to combine their career skills, like we kind of talked about earlier, like marketing, finance, design, with environmental and social impact?
I would say the first one is lead with passion. I know a lot of people that get into certain careers, and I don't want to say they regret it, but it's just not like they're proud of their work. And I've always been very proud of my work. Obviously, I didn't start in the environment space, um, but I just say lead with passion, or if there's another outlet too with beyond your career, if you're like volunteering or you're finding something else, that's definitely a stepping stone. I also think now with students coming out of university, because I have a number of interns, I always ask them too, like, I never had a dream job. I always just had, you know, that I really wanted my work to be very like meaningful and make a difference. But I know a lot of people have dream jobs or they have those dream companies. And it's like, that's great. I just think like there's definitely stepping stones. So like just lead with passion. Um, you don't have to be at your dream job, your first job out of college or out of anything. It's going to take some time. But then also, I would say with what I've learned with Nandi, it's just utilizing your superpower. And anytime that you are coming into a partnership or you're connecting with others, being confident in what your superpower is and discovering it would be my next one, because you can have all the skills, or you can learn different skills, but just make sure you know what your superpower is.
I love it. And I think too, you mentioned interns a few times.
Yep.
And I think that's so important because AEP, I think about a year ago, launched a mentoring program. And when we host leaders on the podcast like yourself, there's always, almost always, an impactful professor, parents, mentor. And it's so important to be that person for other people. And
Right.
I think, the fact that you take interns on and teach them and guide them and advise them on like what you do, how to be purpose driven, helping them find their superpower. Cause like, we don't always
Right.
know what that is. And so being able to help them harness it and use it in a trajectory that's value aligned, I think is a really important message for people, who are in a position to hire mentors, or excuse me, hire interns or be a mentor.
And I think with mentorship, it's you get so much out of it. I feel like as a mentor or even as a mentee, like you can be there's no age limit, I want to say, for that. You get so much out of it. And for the students too, I have a number of them that worked with me like 2 years ago, and they just, one of them, she was an intern maybe for 6 months, worked on a couple projects for me, and then she got another internship. And I was like, okay, well, sounds good. Like, that's great. I'm glad you got, this role that you were looking for. And then once we went to San Diego Climate Week, I was emailing someone, and it ended up being her at an environmental organization. And then she was like, oh, don't worry. I've talked to them about it. I will get you in. And it just was like kind of full circle that I was just like, oh, that's wonderful. I'm glad now you're over there. And just like following on her on LinkedIn, I've been able to see like her growth. But it's just like, yeah, you just never know where all these relationships are going. And so I just feel like they're super important when you're growing your business, or going into your career. It's just like you're just focus on your relationships, and they'll
Yeah.
definitely get you places or open new doors for you, or connect you with other organizations. So I just love that it's all around connection. And that goes back to your campaign question, but yeah.
There you go. I love it. I love it. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I loved hearing your passion for the work you do and the ideas and putting them into action and connecting people around like the central theme of like the environment and what people can do and giving them space to do it, and putting that into your day-to-day work too. I think it's just really inspiring. And we'll get into the wrap up rapid five.
Oh yeah, okay, sounds
Yeah,
good.
this is
Yeah,
yeah,
rapid
this is the hot
fire.
seat.
I'll try to keep it with like 1 to 2 words for each question, because I'm
You-
terrible at that.
You're good. Me too, obviously.
Yeah.
So, what's your favorite daily habit?
Yoga in the morning.
Ooh, three things you'd bring to a deserted island.
So I'd have to go with like a family friend picture, like a large picture of them with all the people I love. Um, a water purifier, And then I don't know. I think the other one needs to be survival, like a knife.
There you go. Okay.
Yeah.
Practical and sentimental. I love it.
I've seen Alone too many times, so I need to I need to need practical items.
What's your favorite or your favorite environmental policy?
I just learned about this with Surfrider, the California Coastal Act, and so I just think it's obviously super important. Everyone has the right and access to our coastline and beaches.
Yes, as a citizen of California, yes.
Yep.
Favorite flora or fauna?
Sea otter. Yeah.
Cute.
They wrap in kelp. They hold little hands. They also keep their little rock and they reuse their rock when they eat. I just love them.
I love it. And finish this sentence. Wouldn't it be cool if?
Every city had its own community powered climate week.
Yes, there you go. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Erika. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to be updated when new episodes are released and leave us a review to let us know what you think. It also really helps us to share the podcast with others who may enjoy learning about the environmental industry. If you want to submit a shout out or any feedback, please send an email or voice memo to podcast@califaep.org. The email again is podcast with an S, podcast@califaep.org.